everyone. Welcome back to RTS and welcome back to Paper Pad Party. Yes, we have been playing with our paper pads lately, loving every minute of it. Okay, so what I'm going to do today is I'm also going to be playing with the load prompt, because you know that if you have been scrapbooking a long time, sometimes you sit down and you're like, it's the same thing over and over. And so that's why I always encourage people to try different sketches, try different techniques, try different designs, and try different challenges. And so the load prompts help me with that, because instead of just having a story or a photo about my dad and this rooster, it now turns into a story about my dad and this rooster. So it helps you take a different spin on that, and that's why I love the load event. And then of course the technique prompts, because it helps you break out of the monotony of doing the same thing with an ephemera pack and enamel dots. And you know what I'm talking about. Yes, okay. So the story prompt today, of course, this was from Scrapbook Magic, the load event that happened in May. And I use my load prompts all year long. It doesn't matter when it came from. And so, of course, it's about Rumpelstiltskin. Yes, okay. So the story prompt is, what have you taken and turned into something precious and valuable? Or the technique prompt was to use something rustic and metallic as far as embellishments. So I thought, I'm going to do both of those. So my story has to do with my dad and turning this rooster into something more valuable. I don't know the whole story. I just know it's valuable. It means a lot. It does a lot. And it's like, I don't know, world famous or something. I don't know. My family's into everything. So I'll get the whole scoop on that. Yeah. Did you get that scoop? I'll get the whole scoop on this rooster from my dad. But I have this photo, and it's really, I love this photo. It's not the most, how do I want to say? It's not the most glamorous photo. It's just my dad in his work clothes with this rooster, but it's my dad in his element, and he's outdoor, and I see the outdoors and I see the barn, and it just, I love when you can capture people in the moment. And so I'm glad he sent this photo to me. And so I'm going to absolutely talk about that, turning something into a valuable. Not that this critter's not valuable, but he turned it into something. And so then also, I think it's in tournaments or something. I don't know. Anyways, the technique is to use rustic and metallic. And so, of course, you know, when I thought of this photo, I already kind of had this paper pad in my mind because of the rooster. And so this paper pad is called a Blue Barn by the paper studio found at Hobby Lobby. And some people are saying that they're finding these paper pads for $5 right now at clearance at Hobby Lobby. What a steal. $5? Yeah. Even if you got it for 10, it's a good deal, but even for 5. So, of course, how I found this so quickly is just how I organize my paper pads. I'll have that video below. I love this system. Totally a game changer for me. Okay, so that is what I'm going to do. I'm going to use Blue Barn. I haven't figured out what papers, but I will tell you. I mean, it's not hard to figure out that if I show you these papers, there's one in here that you know I'm going to have to figure out how to use somehow. And it is this paper, if I can find it. It's just a pretty paper pad. Now this says cardstock, and it's okay. I would say it's not the heaviest cardstock, but it's a heavy pattern paper. How's that? I wouldn't call it cardstock, but it's a heavy pattern paper. And let me see, right there. Okay, so you know I could use just a piece of this. I could just use the whole piece if I wanted to, you know, or I could fussy cut. But this is definitely making the page somehow. We'll see how that comes up with. Maybe I could find a circle punch. It doesn't matter. I'll come up with something. But I love that. And then, of course, I saw the cows, and guess what? I now have a story idea. I have a story-based page. It's going to come because of these cows. And so I am not going to put this paper pad away. I will make sure I do that story sooner than later. Maybe I will do it here within the week. But yeah, I have a story base that has to do about cows. Too cute. So I will just use this rooster page as my inspiration. Of course, why wouldn't I? Yeah, why wouldn't I? Okay, and like I said, this is a big design. And my photo, you know, it's kind of like a big photo as far as the focus on this. It's kind of, it's not a small image. So I probably will use this sparingly. I won't use the whole thing. Who knows what I may get into? I might just use a band of it, okay? And so that is the paper pad I'm going to play with. I may even get a couple mats out of there. I haven't really thought too much. I got sidetracked with the rooster and then the cow, and then I just was thinking farm life, and yeah, I just went down a rabbit hole. Yeah, yeah, I definitely went down a couple rabbit holes. But with that rooster, you can see that, you see what I'm saying. Let me show you something here. Of course, I could use that because I asked my subscribers, I said, where would I ever use that paper? But, you know, that's funny how some of my subscribers said what that really depicts. That was too fun, okay? My subscribers are so intelligent, so smart. They just know everything. So let me go back to this rooster paper here. I definitely could use that green and white stripe, okay? And... okay, come on. Well, I'm going to have to get a wood grain in there because I'm talking outdoor. I'm talking roosters. Well, yours truly has to get a wood grain. Okay, so you see these colors here. Even though this is a big floral pattern, if I use this for a very thin mat, you would just see that red and green. So I may do that for an outside mat and use that green stripe. And I thought there was some wood grain in here, but I probably already used it. Okay, well, there we go. So I'll probably use that. Very, very pretty. Very, very pretty. Just a nice paper pad called the Blue Barn. Yes, absolutely. Okay, so with that, I pulled out, with Alice's instruction, rustic and metallic. So for rustic, I think brown. Metallic, I think brown or gold or silver. And I'm not going to do gold and silver. I'm just not feeling that, okay? And do you remember the time when we would have so many metal embellishments? Metal has kind of went and maybe coming back a little bit, but yeah, one time metal embellishments was the thing. Okay, so what I did was I pulled out my brown drawer of my lump and bump, and there's a lot of metal in here. Clips and flare and all kinds of stuff. So yeah, brads, all kinds, and these brads here, that would be perfect. And even wood grain buttons. Oh my lord. Yeah, so that would be fun. It's going to be fun to root through this and just see what's in there, okay? And then, of course, I have these wood grain enamel dots. Hello, come to mama. I definitely will get them on there somewhere. And then wood grain sequins, not hard to figure out. And then, of course, just all this lump and bump and, you know, the metal, okay? The metal and the rustic. So then, of course, I had this rooster on my brain. I thought I will go to my wood veneer where I have little barn animals or just animals. And I knew I had a rooster in here. And sure enough, here is a rooster. And I don't know if there's different sizes, but I have a couple roosters. So where else am I going to use a rooster except on a rooster page? Now, these small ones, I don't know what they look like. They may, you can maybe, it almost looks like a turkey now, but yeah. Okay, so I'm definitely going to get a rooster on there. So that was fun. And so, of course, in my wood veneer, this is just in a drawer. The same way I do these, they're just a different size. And I got these from Amazon. And you can look at the organizing embellishments. That video will be listed below. So it will be fun to get those roosters on there. Okay, so I wanted to look in my brown box for something kind of fun, because I thought, okay, rustic, metal, metallic, I'll see what's in my brown box. So when I mean my brown box, I mean my brown photo box, okay? So I have a bag here, and it's just metal embellishments, so I thought that would be fun. Some of that, what's in here, is represented in here, so I may not need this, but I do like these metal making memories, old school, these. Now I'm only down to a few numbers, but maybe if I had a 6, I don't know. Oh, right here we go. This is in 2016. How perfect. Oh, don't you just love it when a plan comes together? Okay, so that worked out good. Okay, I'll use that because that is metal and rustic as can be. So then as I was getting this bag out, what do you think I saw? I saw feathers. And I thought, oh my goodness, could I get a feather on this page? And so the feathers that I have in this is, I think, more exotic feathers. But I thought to myself, now, Janet, you got feathers someplace else. And I knew that I had them. And so I will show you what I have and what I'm going to try to put on this page. And this is why I love a load prompt, because I would have never in a million years thought, well, maybe the feather, okay? But the metal, maybe not. So I have some turkey feathers. Yes, I do. Because at one time I was going to make, oh, and I did, made my little one a display with quill pens and books and things like that. And so I have these left over. And so these are absolutely too big for layout. And they're too bulky. Okay, but what I can do is simply just use a little representation of this peeking out somewhere. Of course, you know, you could even rip this off and just layer this underneath a sticker or a die cut or something like that. So I am absolutely going to try to get a turkey feather on this rooster page. Yes, that all came from the inspiration of Rumpelstiltskin, of turning something something ordinary into something precious and valuable, and that would be that rooster right there. I wonder if that rooster has a name. I don't know, but I will come back with a finished page telling you a little bit more about this rooster, if the rooster had a name, and if the rooster got paired with a turkey feather. Yes, absolutely. Oh, isn't this hobby just wonderful, fun, and it's so creative. Love when a plan comes together. So let's scrapbook this summer. Let's break out the paper pads and let's record the story. Yes, okay, so we'll come back with Rumpelstiltskin. Okay, hold on. Okay, I am back with my finished page, and I had fun playing with this because I got to include some feathers on a page. I mean, you just can't beat that. That's just too fun. You can't even put that into words how fun that is. So what I did was, of course, using this paper pad, the Blue Barn by the Paper Studio, and I used this red paper, which it has a wood grain feel to it. Because it has the red wooden drawers, you know, that you would find in a chicken coop or a barn. Love that. And then, of course, the roosters. And then my very, very background piece to bring all those colors together is this floral paper right here. Okay? And so then in the background, you just see, you don't even tell it's flowers, but it's the colors I was after because I needed something to add to my design, because this is just a brown, basic brown and a basic wood grain and a basic red. I wanted a little bit of color because my little rooster here was colorful. So just brought all that in. And then, of course, when I cut down this wood grain piece, I had some leftovers. You know, that's what we get, these little strips left over. Of course, I mounted them down here at the bottom as a footer just to give a little bit of a grinding base, you know, a stopping point. So I always like doing that because otherwise I just throw them away. And then all I did was then a double mat, and I did got the brown cardstock. This is basil, because I could use the inside of that brown for my photo, and that's what I did right there. And then, of course, you can look on the back. I didn't gut that other piece because it's too thin. So sometimes I gut my paper, sometimes I don't. If I know I'm going to mat, then definitely gut that and then use it to your benefit. So basically what I'm down to is just a block design, because my photo is a block, and then I just used a block of paper. I used this because there were 6 on this paper. I cut it in half, and then I just used 2 of them, and I'll show you what I did with the third one here in a bit. And so this gives a design of what, you know, you find in a chicken coop, and then also too gave me a place for my title and my embellishments, and also to hold my photo. So it worked out really well, and it's very simple, but it's just a photo on a block on 3 mats. That's all that is. Very simple to do. I just had, this didn't take very long to do, but I had fun playing with a few embellishments that I don't normally play with, which are these darker colors, and then also too feathers. Yes, you just can't do. You just, how often you play with feathers and roosters? So what I did for my title is that I used those Making Memories metal letters and tiles, and it says 16 because that's the year. I just lucked out that I had a 1 and a 6. And then, of course, I had a Kaisercraft die cut that said Simply Amazing, because we were using the load prompt of Rumpelstiltskin and taking something ordinary and turning it into something amazing or valuable. So that Simply Amazing worked really well for my title. And then, of course, I had that green. That really worked well because I was playing off the green and the rooster. And of course I have some visual triangles. We'll talk about that in just a minute, because really I just have 3 embellishment clusters that make one big triangle. And then, of course, my photo is simply just matted on that basil brown cardstock, and my journaling is going to go here. And so I asked my dad, does this rooster have a name? And he calls it Big Brown. Big Brown. And this rooster is known for its feathers, and he was getting into the story about genetics and this and that, and yeah, it's a complicated story, but he really did take this rooster and turn it into something valuable. And yes, he really treasures that rooster, so that's fun. So for my embellishments, I have one here, one here, one here, and of course, just with those 3 embellishment clusters, I wanted to show about visual triangles because I got asked that because I have some new scrapbookers and they want to know what a visual triangle is. So if you look at to where my title is and this little fun grouping here and this fun grouping here, all three of those make a visual triangle. Okay, right there's your triangle. And so what that does is it just leads your eye around the page so your eye gets the full effect of what your story is. That was the purpose of a visual triangle. You don't have to do it, but it's certainly fun to do it. Absolutely. Okay, so up here on the title, I just used a die cut and this metal 16 for my title, added in a couple wood grain enamel dots and then actual wood enamel dots. Those are my making memories. Very, very fun. And then, of course, some wood veneer. And then over here, I just rinsed and repeated. I got that green color in and the word happy on the word on an arrow, pointing to my dad because he really is truly happy in his element. Some wood veneer, pine trees, and then I have some little leaves here. And then, of course, that same wood grain enamel dot and the wood enamel dot. And then coming over here, we have the rooster, which what I did was I just took one of these roosters out of the pattern paper and then I fussy cut it, but I fussy cut it in a quick manner. You see all these leaves? Yeah, or the leaves. You see all these tails? I didn't get into all those feathers in that tail. I just gave it a fast fussy cut, but at the same time I moved my scissors. Well, no. Yeah, you move the paper, hold your scissors, and you can see that I just gave it a fussy cut, but it's not an intricate fussy cut. That's what I was trying to say. And then, of course, just layered more wood veneer. And then I had a little title. It says, "This is the life." And then I had a piece of wood veneer that says country. So my subtitle is, "This is the country life," because that's clearly what it is, the country life. And again, added more of that green. Rinse and repeat with the same enamel dots. Just put them in different places and different sizes. That's how you can play with these visual triangle elements. And then, of course, right here are my feathers. Okay, now they're considered turkey feathers. And all I simply did was take some scissors and cut that off. And then I ran a couple strips of my ATG underneath this red paper. And I just stuck them in there. Now, it gave me a little bit of lump and bump, but not too much. Because I was thinking I was going to have to put that on foam tape. Because it did add a little lump and bump, but not as much as I thought, so it all worked out good. And I really wanted the feathers here because this is where my rooster is, okay? So it kind of just looks like an extension. It looks like there's, you know, something in that chicken coop. Love that. Mood and feel. That's all that is mood and feel. Okay, so let's talk about the visual triangles because I said I would point this out in my next couple layouts. And so let's talk about the wood veneer. So I have wood veneer here, here, and here. So again, it makes that visual triangle, okay? And that's where your eye's going, see? Visual triangle. And your triangle can be big and it can be small. So then my next visual triangle would be the green, okay? It's represented in those same areas. And then, of course, now look what I have in text. I have text up here for my title. I have text here, and I have text here. And notice that all three of those are in different sizes, okay? When you're playing with a visual triangle, everything can be the same size, or you can vary up the size, and you can vary up your colors. There's no rule to that. So then the next thing, of course, would be these wood enamel dots. I have one included in every one, and then the wood grain enamel dots. I don't even have the same number. I have one here, and two here, but it is represented in each of those. So you can use a different number of those as well. And of course, you see I have different sizes. That's always fun. Do we ever get tired of enamel dots? No. And then to say that they're wood grain or wood enamel dots, that's just lovely. Okay, and then of course, I have another visual triangle. And what would that be? That would be my roosters. I have one here, one here, one here. So you can see that this is a visual triangle, but it is a very small triangle. Okay, see right there. So I have a rooster, rooster, and rooster, and again, that makes a visual triangle. But see that triangle? Very, very small, but it's there. So, and if you don't know what to do, always go with odd numbers because then your eye can always find the middle, and that's why a visual triangle is so great for a page. It don't matter if you're doing a scrapbook page, a newspaper layout, whatever, a visual triangle, because in and of itself, a visual triangle has 3 points. Again, it's an odd number, and your eye just keeps going bing, back and forth. Love that. Okay, then of course up here in the top left, what did I do? I added a photo corner, just one lonely photo corner, because that's all I could find in my brown little drawer there, my little color drawer. So when I just have one, I just use one. And I think that's Becky Higgins back from that Creating Keepsakes School Days kit. That is really old, like 2005 old. Okay, so now let's talk about scale for a minute. because I wanted to use something. And I am going to use something, and it is this jelly bean soup, this little green truck. I really want this truck on here because, you know, that is something else of my dad and his element is his truck, okay? So what I wanted to do is I wanted to put this truck down here with this rooster. Well, not with the rooster, but that's where I wanted it. That's where I visioned it. But it really won't work too well there. And why is that? Because of scale. Okay, now this rooster is very large and this rooster is very small, and that's okay because one's wood veneer, one's a piece of paper, it's okay. But when I put them in relationship to this truck, it really doesn't look right as far as scale, because a truck in real life is way bigger than a rooster, okay? And so it doesn't look right there because of scale. So when you are playing with embellishments, you can pay attention to that, or you can just throw that out the window. Sometimes I'll throw it out the window because if you look over here, my tree is way smaller than this rooster, but it's not in the same location. So that's how you get away with that. But having this truck right here with the rooster, it looks like the rooster is on the back of the bed of the truck, which, you know, that could happen in real life, but it just doesn't look right because the rooster is, you know, that's like a big Beyonce chicken. It's way too big for that little truck. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this truck, and I thought about putting it here, and that looks kind of cute. But I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it up here, and I'm going to tie it in. It just looks really good right there. So I'm going to tie it in. And so then it just adds into 2016, you know. And I don't even have to have the word dad, and when I see that truck, I think of my dad. So that's where that truck's going to land. I got it on there. Yes, okay. And so then let's talk about when you're fussy cutting designs like this. But yet, there are some designs on here. See, the rooster, his head's cut off there. There, his whole top is cut off here. And here, the back of him's cut off. So when you're fussy cutting, you can't use some of these outside edges or images, the outside edges for these images because they're cut off. So what I wanted to do is show you that you absolutely can still use them for something, just not as the whole image of the rooster. So what I wanted to show was I had these, and they were just on the edge of that rooster paper. So you can tell it's not a complete rooster because it was cut off. So what I did was just took a punch, and you have to use like a small punch. And then what you can do is still use those images that are cut off in the design, like the rooster's back end was cut off, or his head was cut off, or his legs were cut off. And you can still use the colors of that design for an embellishment. It doesn't have to be a rooster, okay? Because this was the part of a rooster, and when I used a small punch, this is just a stem, it's a Martha Stewart stem. You see how I got all these little leaves, and they're from that rooster design, but it doesn't look like a rooster. It just looks like outdoor nature embellishments. And I love doing that because at one time, if I was using a piece of paper and I was fussy cutting it, and if I couldn't get the whole image, like right here, there was only the bottom half of that rooster, I would have just threw that away. And then I started thinking, wait, I can use those colors for embellishments. And so right there, I just took that Martha Stewart stem, and all these ones that would have normally threw away, because I had to cut to get into that complete rooster. I had to cut the, you know, had to cut into the edge, and I normally would have thrown those away, but look how many leaves I got out of that, or stems, whatever you want to call that. And then what I did was that I used them on my page right there. So it just helped me get that green color, because I don't have this dark green color in a lot of embellishments. And so I just took that little Martha Stewart punch and I used those pieces. And this is what I'm talking about, is this right here. See, you can't really use that, but you could use those colors in there. Right here, I use that and use that. Very, very fun, because I normally would have threw those away. So I just wanted to show that little tip, because I absolutely used that little punch, and I used these designs that are not ruined, but they're not a complete image. I normally would have threw them away in the past, but now I'm using them to my benefit, okay? And then I used them on that page there, just as a little element there with that wood veneer tree. Very, very fun. Okay, so then on this piece of paper, let's see, it goes this way. I cut it in half. I used 2 on the layout, so I had 1 piece laying here. So what did I do? I absolutely made a card for Father's Day. Yes, and so I just put it on a blank piece of card base, which I have them laying nearby to make quick cards, and then I just put it right to the edge here. And again, this is just leftovers, leftovers from my layout. And so then I did take another rooster, and see, this is what I mean. See how I did a fussy cut, but it is a very fast fussy cut, and it looks just fine. I didn't have to get into all those tail feathers. No, I didn't. And then of course I put the word Dad on there, and these two pieces here left over from my page, and so I'm going to use that for Father's Day. Going to send it. I really would want to put some feathers on there but it's going to go in the mail, and it would get too much. It would get a little lump and bump, so I figured I better not, because I don't have luck sending cards in the mail. No, so that is just a Father's Day card I used from this. So I love how that turned out. Okay. So I think that's all I wanted to say, other than what will I do with these leftovers. This is simply going in the trash. I won't use this because I have some more if I need it. And all of these that I punch will go in probably my green box. You know, my little drawer here that I have for brown. I'll just throw them in my green because that's the color I basically see. So very fun with that. And then of course these here, these will not go with the paper pad. Maybe the roosters will, because it's big enough. But this here, that's just going to go in my scrap folder, because this size here kind of gets lost in a paper pad when I put it back in my closet. So that is how I finished the page. And again, my journaling is going to go down here talking about Big Brown and all the genetics that's went into this rooster and how it's so valuable, and my dad loves it, and it's just been years in the making. Yes, it's Mr. Rumpelstiltskin. Yes, that's what we should call him. Oh, I'll tell him that next time I talk to him. We're going to call him Rumpelstiltskin. Turning something ordinary and turning it into something valuable. Love the load prompts, because this is just, I mean, I love the photo because, you know, it's my dad in his element, but then taking that load prompt and pairing it with this and making it into even a better story than it was before, that never gets old. No, it doesn't. Okay, so that's all I have for today. Come back to RTS, because you never know what we're gonna do. Bye.